In lessons 3 and 4, we started our study of the compulsory round and talked about the 7 mandatory poses. We learned how to do the 3 front mandatory poses and the 2 side mandatory poses. Now we're going to turn our attention to learning to perform the remaining 2 mandatory poses, which are the rear double biceps and the rear lat spread pose. Both of these poses are designed to show off the muscularity and development of the back of your body, including the lats, the traps, the shoulders, arms, and even the hamstrings and calves. Let's learn how to perform the rear double biceps pose first. Joining me again is Ryan Workman of Team Labrada. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, Lee.
Hi. So we're going to start in the relaxed rear quarter turn position. And we're going to begin by placing the ball of the foot of your best leg back behind the heel of your other foot, as you can see here. We're going to illustrate this pose with the right leg back, but you can easily perform this with the left leg back if you wish. Bend your knees slightly so that you can tense your calves and hamstrings and glutes. Push lightly against the foot that you have behind you to create tension in the hamstrings. But most of the weight is going to be on the other leg, the left leg in this case. Now, once you have your foot position in place, it's time to move on to the muscles of the upper body. Bring your arms together overhead, arch your back, and then draw the elbows down and back as if you were performing an imaginary lat pull down. You want to bring the elbows down until they're about even with your shoulders. Flex your arms hard and rotate your arms slightly backwards to bring out all of the size of your arm. Now, one common mistake that I see made in this pose is the crunching of the scapula, which would look like this. Now, when you do this, you lose all of your back width, so you want to make sure that you rotate that scapula up and out to maintain the maximum width in your back. Okay, now let's move on to the second rear mandatory pose, which is the rear lat spread. You're going to start this pose by posing your legs as you did in the last pose, the back double biceps. So you're going to bring the leg back and you're going to tense that leg. As you can see, he's got a different leg back this time. Okay, and then to execute the rear lat spread, begin by placing your hands on your obliques. You're going to find the correct position by placing your thumbs on the back of your hips, then closing your hands, and then pulling the elbows forward and rotating the scapula at the same time. You want your scapula to abduct forward to allow the lats to flare as you bring the elbows forward, keeping your rib cage expanded and lean back slightly at the waist. Now, one common mistake I see is contracting the lats at the same time that they're being flared. So that would look like this. Okay, and as you can see, you lose some of that width. So you want to make sure that that scapula is rotated and you have the maximum width in your back. Another mistake is allowing the sternum to collapse and rounding the back too much. You know, so this is what it looks like when it happens. You see, and it takes away his back width. So that's what happens when you round your back too much. So what you want to do is you want to think of your back as a movie screen and you want to make it as large as possible, okay? So that's what that pose would look like when it's executed correctly. Practice holding these poses for 30 to 60 seconds at a time to build up your endurance. You're going to need that endurance when you compete. Well, that covers the 2 rear mandatory poses and concludes our discussion of the mandatory posing round. Practice all 7 mandatory poses using a mirror and even photographs and videos. Practice these poses until you can execute them comfortably before proceeding to the next lesson. And remember, the more you practice, the better you'll get. When you're ready, join me in lesson 6, where we'll start learning about freestyle posing. You'll learn how to emphasize all of the strong points of your physique, and that is where the fun really begins. I'm Lee Labrada, and you're watching Posing Like a Pro.